Welcome back to the Garifuna Experience podcast. I'm your host, José Francisco Ávila. For years, the Garifuna community in New York City has operated on a strategy of advocacy, gracefully asking for a seat at the table and politely requesting recognition. But, as previously announced, we are shifting from advocacy to accountability. For decades, Garifuna Heritage Month has been defined by the 3 C's: customs, cuisine, and celebrations. But this vibrant mask often hide a stark structural reality. The Garifuna community remains one of the most underserved and politically invisible groups in New York City. We have raised awareness. Now we want equity. We are moving beyond being celebrated to being represented. Today we go behind the proclamations to look at the hard numbers, the gatekeepers, and the roadmap to the Garifuna Centennial in New York City. Let's look at the evidence. New York City is a global hub of power. Yet for the Garifuna, that power has been a ghost. Despite a community estimated at 250,000 strong in New York State, let's check the historical record. In 94 years of Garifuna presence in New York, how many of our own have held local political office in this state? Exactly one, Gustavo Santos, a town board member in Guilderland, New York, serving only since January 2024. One person in nearly a century for 250,000 people. Think about that. The Bronx is the Garifuna capital of the world outside of Central America. We are a massive voting bloc. Yet, in districts where our people live, in the thousands, we are politically invisible. We see 0 Garifuna staff members in legislative offices, no interns, no community liaison, no district leaders, no state committee members, no Garifuna staff in the rooms where the budget is decided. Why the disconnect? Because for decades, New York City has been a city of power, resilience, and cultural leadership. Yet political influence has too often been concentrated in the hands of a few. Furthermore, we have not developed the framework and roadmap we need to position the Garifuna community as a credible, data-driven political force in the Bronx. True political influence begins with representation. The Garifuna people deserve political visibility. To understand how we break through, we have to look at those who have been holding the line. Enter Mirta Colón, a Honduran-born powerhouse who has spent 30 years in the trenches, from founding Honduras Against AIDS in 1992 to being named in City and State Magazine's 2026 Bronx Power 100. She is the chair of Casa Yurume, a Garifuna community center that provides services to make visible and strengthen the social, political, economic, cultural advocacy and organizing efforts of the Garifuna and Afro-Central American communities living in the United States of America and the Central American region. She is also the president of Organización Negra Centroamericana, or NECA, the only network of Afro-descendant organizations in Central America. They work to combat racism and discrimination. Her work isn't just cultural, it's a lifeline. And according to the record, she was the primary inspiration for a major political milestone, the Garifuna Caucus in Congress. Colón highlights this achievement in a digital ad paid for by the Tourists for Congress campaign. Here's where the accountability piece comes in. On April 13, 2023, Teófilo Colón, a community reporter for the Being Garifuna website, flagged a speech by Congressman Richie Torres. Torres mentioned a Garifuna caucus. Teófilo wrote, in his speech introducing Garifuna activist Ms. Mirta Colón, Congressman Richie Torres mentioned something that apparently went unnoticed. Mr. Torres talked about how Mirta Colón was the inspiration for the creation of the Garifuna Caucus, the first of its kind. Say what? A Garifuna Caucus? He began to do some research to try to get a sense of what is a Garifuna Caucus and what will having one mean for the Garifuna people in New York. He called the primary contact listed for the U.S. Congressman Richie Torres Garifuna Caucus and left a message asking for more information. However, he didn't get a reply. There is not much information as to the United States Garifuna Caucus. On the website I visited, it states that the Garifuna Caucus is a committee, Teófilo Colón concluded. Here's what our investigation shows. 3 years later, a review of the Garifuna Caucus membership lists exactly 2 members, Representative Richie Torres as chair and Representative Adriano Espaillat as federal caucus member. Key figures and support. Our investigation found that the caucus works alongside organizations Casa Yurume and Alianza Americas. Alianza Americas is a Chicago-based Pan-American nonprofit organization based in Hispanic, Latino American, and Caribbean immigrant communities in the United States. According to a post in Alianza Americas' website, the Garifuna Caucus is a congressional caucus focused on addressing the needs of the Garifuna Afro-Indigenous community, particularly regarding immigration, human rights, and land rights in Central America and the U.S. It advocates for temporary protected status for Honduran and Guatemalan Garifuna and promotes cultural recognition. The caucus is involved in promoting initiatives such as a resolution which seeks to establish April as National Garifuna Heritage Month in the United States. Members of Alianza Americas in New York include Casa Yurume, Honduras Against AIDS, Organización Negra Centroamericana, and Hijos de Livingston, Inc. The Garifuna Caucus has sponsored Casa Yurume, Honduras Against AIDS annual National Garifuna Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C., to visit congressmen and senators, to recruit for membership in the Garifuna Caucus and garner support for a resolution to establish National Garifuna Heritage Month. But here's the accountability check. Interviews with community members indicate that while the caucus exists, the internal machinery is missing Garifuna representation. There has been exactly 1 Garifuna staff member in the congressman's office, and their tenure was short-lived. Currently, there are no Garifuna interns, no permanent pipeline. If we are the inspiration for the caucus, why aren't we the ones staffing it? For more on this, go back and listen to episode 43, The Fight for Visibility at the Congressional Afro-Latino Roundtable. The state legislature, the Somos connection. Moving from the federal to the state level, we see a different dynamic. Mirta Colón has built a bridge to Assemblymember Corines Reyes in the 87th District, which includes West Farms, a neighborhood that is a vital part of our Garifuna corridor. Assemblymember Reyes currently chairs the Puerto Rican and Hispanic Task Force and works hand in hand with Hispanic legislature to spearhead issues such as immigration reform, inadequate census representation, and criminal justice reform. Together, Somos Inc. and Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force collaborate to organize the annual Somos Albany and Somos Puerto Rico conferences, the largest gatherings of Hispanic civic and political leaders in the Empire State in Puerto Rico. Mirta Colón is a member of the board of Somos Inc. Assemblymember Reyes has been a champion sponsoring Garifuna Advocacy Day in Albany. She continues a tradition started by former Assemblymember Michael Benjamin, AD 79, in 2010, and carried by leaders like former Assemblymember Luis Sepúlveda. But even here, the accountability lens reveals a gap. A review of the staff directory shows no Garifuna staff members or judicial delegates in the office or as interns. We must remember the milestone of 2014. Rosemary Ordóñez Jenkins became the first Garifuna person elected to a political position in New York State as a Democratic judicial delegate. She was nominated by former Assemblymember Luis Sepúlveda. She proved it could be done. So why, 12 years later, are we still looking for the second? Our path to 2030 Garifuna Centennial. We are no longer content with being a cultural highlight. By 2030, the centennial of our establishment in New York City, we must be a unique voting and power bloc. To establish ourselves as a unique voting power and bloc, we are focused on recruiting the next generation of Garifuna staff interns, and candidates to ensure our flame burns brighter for the next century. This is a call to action for our millennials and Gen Zs. Baby boomers have held the line. They started the advocacy. They built the organizations like Casa Yurume and Garifuna Coalition. But now we need the next generation to take that torch. We need you. We need you running for judicial delegate. We need you applying for those legislative internships. We need you in the state committee. We need Garifuna names on the ballot for elected positions. The path is there. We just have to walk it. By the time we hit the 100-year mark, we cannot still be asking for proclamations. We need representation. True political influence begins with data and representation. We cannot be a represented community if we are not the ones in the seats. The roadmap is clear. The history is 94 years long. The time to wait is over. And that wraps up another illuminating episode of the Garifuna Experience podcast. Thank you for joining me for this investigative look into our power. The future of the Garifuna people is in our hands. Until next time, stay united, stay proud. Sungube Lida Aba. Ayu. Find new episodes of the Garifuna Experience podcast every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your favorite shows. Please rate and review the Garifuna Experience podcast. It helps our history reach the world.